Yo, 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 what's up, YouTube? This is Silver Saturn Studios, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing Bound for Glory. Now, for those of you who don't know, wink, wink, anyone catch that reference? Anyway, for those of you who do not know, Bound for Glory is TNA's version of WrestleMania. Now, of course, they don't have that much of a budget, so the stage and everything, the lights were decent, but, they still weren't up to par with, say, a regular Raw or SmackDown taping. But nonetheless, it looked very nice for TNA's big event. Now, let's move on to the first match of the night. First match of the night was the Brian Kendrick versus Austin Aries. Now, this match was really, really good. I liked how everything was working. They had a nice flow together. The only thing I didn't like was the fact it's not a complaint about the match. It's really the X division as a whole. I don't like how they put a weight limit on it. Back then, early in TNA's early years, if you used to watch back then, TNA, if it doesn't matter who you are, if you are a wrestler, you can join the X division, do whatever you want, flip all over the place. It was absolutely incredible. And this is some of the criticisms that come to TNA. They didn't push the X division very much within the last year, but within a couple of months, recently we've had a resurgence of sorts for the X division, and the main man who led this resurgence was Brian Kendrick. He won the title from Abyss. Yes, Abyss held the X Division Championship. He beat Abyss at Destination X, I believe, and he did a great job. He had a nice reign, but the only problem was it was a little too short. But at least Austin Aries, someone as good as him, won the belt back. So TNA gives away a ladder match a couple of weeks ago for free, which would be a number one contenders match for the TNA. It would be if you won, you got the number one contender spot for the TNA X Division Championship at Bound for Glory. Now, obviously, the Brian Kendrick, he won that match. I still can't keep calling him the Brian Kendrick. I gotta stop that. Anyway, he won the match and fought Austin Aries for the title, but he lost in a good effort. I would say the match was a 4.5. It was a great opening. Austin Aries looked great during the match. There was a lot of cool spots they had. The sliced bread reversal, I like that a lot. And Austin Aries brainbuster. At first, I thought it was a suplex, but when you really look at it, it's pretty deadly. And I'm gonna be excited for Austin Aries' reign. I really think that he's gonna go some places. He might not be a world heavyweight champion just because of his size, and it's a shame. But you never know. This is TNA, but I expect good things from Austin Aries. Brian Kendrick, great showing, but hey, just wasn't his night. Overall, thoughts of the match 4.5 out of 5. Now, the next match of the night was a Full Metal Mayhem match between Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam. Now, I still don't know what the hell a Full Metal Mayhem match is, but I'm going to assume that if anything is metal, you can use it. And this is exactly what did happen during the match. I mean, RVD and Jerry Lynn threw everything but the kitchen sink. They were beating the crap out of each other. They got what was it? They got some tables for the ECW crowd. If you didn't know, Philly used to be the home pretty much of ECW. That was their home base of operations, and they ate this match up. I'm guessing it's because I believe Jerry Lynn was in ECW, but Rob Van Dam obviously was the face of the company back then. They ate the match up. I ate the match up too. It was absolutely crazy. They were going all over the place. There was a spot where I think it was a guard. No, it was actually a ladder that Jerry Lynn got, and he used it as a ramp between the ring and the guardrails that keeps the fans separated from the ring. And he suplexed RVD, and I was afraid for RVD at first because I thought he got a concussion. He didn't really take the bump properly. He landed in an awkward way, but apparently he was okay. He took an awesome bump. The match was all over the place. It was really exciting. Lots of false finishers. I especially liked the Van Terminator. That's how RVD ended the match. He got up to the top rope and put a ladder between Jerry Lynn's face, and he got the chair, did his top rope move, and hit the Van Terminator for the win. Excellent match. 4 out of 5. Very good showing. And I don't understand the ending. It's like they hugged each other. It was really weird, considering that they were beating the crap out of each other during the match and before, leading up to this fight. So, I got to see where they're going to take this. But, hey, even if the feud sucks, the match was good, and that's what I wanted to see. Next was Samoa Joe versus Crimson versus Matt Morgan. This was a disappointing match. You know, as much as I like Crimson, Samoa Joe, Matt Morgan's pretty good too. They just didn't really have chemistry. They were trying to tell a story, basically Crimson and Matt Morgan teaming up to beat the crap out of Samoa Joe, but For some reason, I wasn't digging it. I think they overused a couple of spots where they were arguing with each other as to why are you going for the pin. But this is a triple threat match, not a handicap match. So I really didn't understand what was going on there. I didn't understand the logic and the storytelling. But it is what it is. It wasn't a bad match by any means. We got a couple of spots where Matt Morgan, of all people, got up to the top rope and did a body splash. He did a crossbody on the Crimson. That was a nice spot. Samoa Joe did his diving senton bomb, I believe it is. No, actually a swanton, whatever it is. And it was an incredible move. It's one of the moves that Undertaker does usually when he runs out of the ring. But for a guy Samoa Joe's size, it's not often you see guys like that perform moves like that. It was an awkward match, but Crimson won. At least he won. I'm a big fan of Crimson, but it made Crimson not look superhero-ish. But it made him human, I guess they're going with he's a very smart kid, or I don't know. But it was just an awkward vibe, you know what I mean? Overall, though, I wouldn't say it was a bad match. I'll give it a 3 out of 5, but there was a lot to be desired. On to the next match, which nearly ruined the pay-per-view. Madison Rayne versus Mickie James versus Velvet Sky versus winner. What the hell? I was under the impression that obviously, since there's 4 divas knockouts fighting each other, that this was going to be a fatal 4-way. No, this was really a tag team match. I don't understand TNA's logic, but this was Russo written all over it. I don't care if the dirt sheets reported that he's not the head writer of TNA anymore. This was absolutely ridiculous. It was really a tag match, but every woman for themselves. And we got the obvious spots with the referee not wanting to count since it was Karen Jarrett. And, she was favoring Madison Rayne, and she was pretty much favoring the heels over the faces. She got knocked out because, what was this chick's name? Winter. Winter accidentally spit blood into Karen Jarrett's face. Tracy Brooks runs out, makes the count for Velvet, and Velvet is your new Knockouts champion. Now, I was very, very happy that Velvet won the match. I think she's the most over knockout in the company. She's a decent wrestler, but the match was horrible. So, it was kind of a bittersweet moment for me, but she was very excited to win. I'm very happy for her, but unfortunately I'm going to have to give the match a 1.5 out of 10. You could tell the crowd only cared about Velvet. They wanted to see her look sexy. She did her stuff, but it wasn't much. Next up is Bully Ray versus Mr. Anderson in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This was a great match. I loved everything that happened. There was a obvious botch spot at the end. Mr. Anderson tried to do I believe it's a swanton. I don't know the exact name. It looks like the exact same move, but when Mr. Anderson does it, it's like not as graceful. I guess it's because he's 6'1" or 6 feet. But anyway, he tried using that move at the end of the match, and he hit Bully Ray, but for some reason, damn table didn't break. They've got a vendetta against these wrestlers, especially Randy Orton. But great job by Mr. Anderson by improvising. He used the mic check to hit Bully Ray. 1, 2, 3. He wins the match. Great match. They went all over the place. They went backstage, and the crowd didn't really like it, but I like the fact that Bully Ray hit a pile driver on Mr. Anderson. That was pretty sweet. And Mr. Anderson just barely kicked out of it. But, I felt the match could have probably done without it. Because when they went backstage, when you're having a Falls Count Anywhere match, you have to be careful because you can really take the people out of it. If you go too far away, people have to look on the screen, and obviously some people have bad seats, so they're not going to be able to see the match at all. I felt, the crowd booed a little bit. It was a little bit noticeable, but towards the end they started coming around, and, there were some great spots. I believe Bully Ray attempted a senton bomb, and he went straight through the guardrail. Awesome spot. Obviously, they tinkered with the guardrail just so he'd be safe, but it still looked cool nonetheless. Great match, 4 out of 5, excellent. Who would have thought that the next match would probably be the biggest disappointment, well, the second biggest disappointment on the card. We have an I Quit match between Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles. These guys have been feuding for a little over a month now. I've been watching Impact. I haven't been too into it lately, but the basic story was Christopher Daniels got jealous of AJ Styles for beating him at Destination X, which I believe was the second, a couple of pay-per-views back. Not the last pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view before. AJ Styles beat Christopher Daniels pretty easily, and Daniels got upset. They had one more match. They had a rematch, but that's when Daniels turned heel, and basically he's been harassing AJ Styles. They've had a couple of grudges against each other, and basically fortune is breaking apart. If you didn't know, Fortune was a babyface stable consisting of Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and Beer Money. Now, the match, I don't know what was happening. I don't know if these guys had an off night or whatever. AJ looked pretty decent. He got a cool new theme song, but that was it. That was the only notable thing. I can't really tell you anything other than the fact that Christopher Daniels came out to try to stab AJ with a screwdriver. Now, I don't know about you, but in the world of professional wrestling, to me, there is a place where you can go too far. When you're trying to kill your opponent literally over a feud that really doesn't have too much substance, it gets kind of awkward. I mean, it was exactly like Devon. And speaking of Devon, where the hell was he? And the Pope. Two good wrestlers that got left off of TNA's WrestleMania. But anyway, it was awkward, just like how Devon's sons got put through tables by Bully Ray. And speaking of that also, they obviously, didn't continue with that feud either. Welcome to TNA. But it was an awkward moment seeing Christopher Daniels trying to stab AJ. Kind of cool, but awkward at the same time. Christopher Daniels backs out like a little hoe because AJ takes the screwdriver from him, tries to kill him, and he quits. So AJ wins the match. But after the match, while AJ is celebrating on the ramp, Daniels comes out and hits the Angel Wings, I believe it is, or whatever. He hits his finishing move on the top ramp and celebrates. So, I'm going to give the match a 2.5. Very disappointing. Kind of boring. I guess they were off. AJ Styles is my favorite wrestler in the world, but, I don't know what to say about it. It's like, I want to support him in everything, but at the same time, he could have did a lot better. And on to the worst worked match of the year, Sting versus Hulk Hogan. Now, if you don't know, Hulk Hogan is in his 50s. I believe he is in his 60s. He is an old son of a gun. Tell me what the hell business does he have wrestling in TNA's biggest pay-per-view event of the year against another 50-year-old? Seriously, what the hell is wrong with him? The man is probably taking pictures with Jesus back in high school, and he's wrestling a match, let alone a no DQ match. And obviously, they didn't take advantage of that. They changed it at the last second, I guess. But basically, Jackson Andrews was revealed to be Eric Bischoff's son, and he was letting them get away with murder, pretty much. Hogan hardly took any bumps. I couldn't blame him, though, because he's had multiple back surgeries. Beating the crap out of Sting. They obviously both blade, which was a disgusting sight to see for two old men. Ric Flair tries to get in there, does his usual bumps. And, Abyss, for some reason, was looking from backstage, and he didn't do anything. He didn't come out and do anything. But, I'm sorry, that was after the match. But Sting won. He ended up winning with the Scorpion Deathlock, and the match obviously gets a 2 out of 5. But what happened after the match was interesting. Hulk Hogan turned babyface, and I believe he spoiled it. I was reading the dirt sheets. I didn't fully read it because I didn't want to spoil myself. But apparently Hulk Hogan revealed to the whole world that he was going to be turning face soon. I didn't read the whole thing, but that's what I'm going to assume because I only read the headline. But anyway, the Hulkster turned face because Immortal tried to gang up and beat the Stinger. Abyss was looking backstage, looked like he was going to do something. I thought he was because Immortal beat the crap out of him in the last Impact, but he just stayed back there, typical TNA booking. Hogan turned face, beat up Immortal. Sting shakes his hand, and everyone goes nuts. It's crazy. A 60-year-old man can get a bigger pop than John Cena. Absolutely incredible. But then again, the match still sucked. 2 out of 5. You know what? I might give it a 1.5. Since it's the Hulkster and the Stinger, I'm going to give it a 1.5. I could give it a 0. It should get a 0, to be honest, but I'm going to say 1.5. And then there was the main event match for TNA's Bound for Glory. The TNA World Heavyweight title match, Bobby Roode versus Kurt freaking Angle. The man who won the Olympics with a broken freaking neck. Now, Kurt Angle apparently was a heel. He really didn't act like it. The psychology in the match, in my opinion, was a little bit off. You had Bobby Roode always attempting that crossface, and it was like usually if you see in a match, the heel gets some offense in, and the face tries to make a little bit of a comeback, but the heel hits an impact move, not a finisher, but he hits a high impact move, goes for a pin, and then when the babyface kicks out, he goes for a submission. That's the exact opposite of what happened in this match. It was really weird. I'm gonna probably agree with Hulk Hogan, even though he buried the man that was gonna be in the main event match a week before it happened. He buried Bobby Roode in an interview, but you know what? I'm gonna have to agree with him after what I saw. Bobby Roode didn't know what the hell he was doing in there. He's a good wrestler, but he's a tag team wrestler, not a singles wrestler. And the convoluted ending screwed this pay-per-view up. But now that I'm calmed down, I can say that Bobby Roode wasn't the man. If you look at it things this way, who do you think is going to have mainstream appeal? Bobby Roode or James Storm? The beer-drinking cowboy who loves money, or Bobby Roode, the family man? There's nothing wrong with being a family man, but he doesn't really have an over-the-top gimmick. I wouldn't say he doesn't have a personality, but at the same time, it's like, I can't differentiate him from anyone. He's just a typical wrestler. He gets angry sometimes, and he's a decent wrestler, but, there's nothing flashy about him. So I'm going to guess that's why Bobby Roode lost. And yes, Bobby Roode lost the main event. Kurt Angle won with, it took him 3 angle slams, I believe, but he won with the angle slam. He used leverage. Leverage from the ropes to defeat Bobby Roode and retain his World Heavyweight Championship match. I believe he got hurt because the referee, Brian Hebner, held up the X sign, which is a legitimate sign for all the medical staff backstage to come and aid the injured wrestler. Kurt Angle took off his boots and started walking off injured, so I hope everything's okay with him. Since he's the world champion, he obviously has to make more appearances than other people, and being that he's old, it's going to take a long time for him to heal up, so I really wish him all the best. Hope everything is okay with him. But yeah, the match, I wasn't really digging it. It was okay, but at the same time, meh. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Honestly, I would have gave Bobby Roode a shot, even if it were just for 1 month and James Storm just takes the belt off of him. But, it didn't have a feel-good moment, It was kind of a controversy-type finish. But at the same time, if this is your WrestleMania, you have to make me go away feeling really happy. This was this man's dream, and his dream was crushed. So you just pissed on everybody who competed in the tournament to be the number 1 guy. They don't have a Royal Rumble. They can't because it's copyrighted. So that their version of the Royal Rumble was a complete and utter waste. A complete fail on TNA's part. But you know what? I ain't even mad. You know why? This is TNA. They always screw things up. Overall, I'm going to give the Bound for Glory pay-per-view a 7 out of 10. The reason why I'm not giving it anything lower than a 7 was because they made some good booking decisions. Mostly they made good booking decisions, but there was the ending. And there were some disappointing matches, such as the Fatal 4-Way, quote-unquote, and the I Quit match. So that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed my review. And as always, you can see me on PWTR, Pro Wrestling Talk Radio Show with CM Punk Mark 35, Matt, and J-Dub every Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. And we have an after show. And don't worry, you can download that episode for free. That's right, F-R-E-E. Despite the fact this is a crappy economy thanks to the President Obama, we are giving away our podcast for free. So remember to type in PWTR Show, Pro Wrestling Talk Radio Show, and subscribe to me, subscribe to J-Dub, and peace out.